Hello there my friends and welcome back to another episode of TA with McKay. My name is McKay, and in today's episode, that is, we're going to be covering a setup that I'll be watching over the coming days, if Bitcoin's able to make a push higher. Now, in yesterday's video, I kind of gave a brief market update covering the DXY, the Total 2 chart, Bitcoin, S&P 500, kind of formulating a plan A and a plan B, so to speak. So I figured now is a good time to cover a setup that I'll be watching. It's a coin that kind of checks a lot of the boxes that I look for at a coin, at a coin that I would like to trade. It has upcoming news. It has a pretty decent setup on the chart. I do believe it's a coin that has solid fundamentals. It's a coin that performed well on this last bull run, still has some hype around it. And so, we'll talk about that setup, what I'll be looking for, what the news is, and kind of how I plan to trade it based on what Bitcoin does. That being said, I will be trading or potentially trading this coin on the crypto exchange known as BITGET. For those of you that are new to my channel, I recently partnered with BITGET, and I'm even doing a $100 giveaway right now that's going through this week into Friday. All you have to do is follow the directions in this plug that I'm about to roll. Yes, my friends, you heard that correctly. Due to my recent partnership with the crypto exchange known as BITGET, they are being so kind as to, via my channel, do a $100 giveaway. All you have to do to qualify is just use the link in my description to create a brand new BITGET account. For those of you that created one from the link in my video from the other day, don't worry, you're already qualified for this giveaway. And basically at the end of this week on Friday, we're going to draw out someone's email that created a brand new account, and should you win, BITGET is just going to apply straight to that new account $100 in USDT, which you can then use to begin spot trading, futures trading, copy trading, all the things that I'll be making videos about in the coming weeks on my channel. So good luck. Remember, again, all you need to do is use the link in my description, create a brand new BITGET account, and then just wait to see if you win on Friday. Good luck, and thank you, BITGET. So there you have it. Keep in mind also that I'm going to be putting videos out in the coming days of how to use their copy trading feature. I'm going to try to create and set up my own account as well. For those of you that follow me in my Telegram group or just on my YouTube channel, maybe some of the setups that I'm tracking or potentially trading, I want you to be able to watch me trade those in real time using the copy trading feature that BITGET has on their website. And with all that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and jump into the content of today's video. The coin that we're going to be talking about is known as DOC. Ticker is DOCK. I believe it's available on most of the major exchanges, definitely available on Binance, KUCOIN, a few of those exchanges that I've used, and I believe most of my users or my followers use. And we're going to talk about, what areas I'll be watching to potentially enter a trade on DOC, where I'd be looking to take profits, where I would set my stop loss, and kind of how I plan to overall manage this trade based on Bitcoin. Now, if that sounds interesting to you, please remember to like and subscribe. Let's go. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. Okie doke, so I don't want to make this video overly long, so we're just going to dive right into it. Now, the first place that I'm going to go just to kind of show you where the news is that I found for this coin, which is DOC, is we're on Google right now. We're going to go to coinmarketcal.com. I'll leave the link in the description. This is just a website that I've mentioned in the past on my channel that I use to find coins that have news. And then up here on the top left where it says coins, you can click there. I'm going to go ahead and type in the specific coin. In this case, it's DOCK. You can see it comes up as DOC. We're going to click that and go ahead and let it load up the news. All right, that's loaded. And as we can see here, they've got 6 different things coming up on the docket as far as upcoming news. You have the Ethereum bridge audit, which is happening, Q1 2023. You've got the integrate traceable creds, delegable credentials, marketplace integration, wallet app staking. That's kind of a big one. Anytime you hear the word staking, that's something to pay attention to. And then they have their bridge with Ethereum. Next up, I've navigated my way to their Twitter page. I often just like to see if there's any upcoming news on their Twitter page, or at the very least, I just want to see if they have an active Twitter page. Doesn't necessarily mean they're a good coin or that they have strong fundamentals just because they're active on Twitter, but often if a project is dying or gone dead or doesn't have any interest, you'll see that they'll go weeks, maybe even months without posting anything. So, I come to their page here and just kind of see what they've got going on. I can see they posted a pinned tweet on February 6th. That obviously was about a month ago, but I can see now March 2nd. Looks like they've got some a new thing, the Web Market 3 marketplace category from the Auth Lab, some new integrations across their wallet, Web3 identity, Web3 wallets, blah, blah, blah. You know, a lot of this is kind of over my head as I'm not really a fundamental guy. But I just like seeing that, okay, 10 hours ago, Doc is a launch partner of Auth0's Web3 category. I don't know if that's a slice of pizza or what the heck that is, but at any rate, it's good to see that they do have an active Twitter page, and it looks like they've got a lot of things going on. Next up, I'm going to go to a rusty, trusty website that I use called the charts.cointrader.pro. You can kind of see the link up there at the top of my page. I'm going to click enter. This is a page that I use to look up coins to see how long they've been around, essentially. The thing that can be deceiving on some of your exchanges, you might look up the chart on, say, KUCOIN for a coin, and it's only going to show you price action for as long as it's been on that exchange. So even though I often use Binance, because that's, you know, the largest and most used exchange, and I trust the volume and I trust the way the chart looks to trade, it doesn't always tell the whole picture as far as what levels maybe existed prior to its listing on Binance that I need to pay attention to. Now here on the top left where it says search a coin, I'm going to type in DOCK for Doc. Now the one that I personally like, or that I look for just because it seems to be the most accurate, is these ones that say coin market cap, and you want to do the USD. You'll see that there's not USDT, it's just USD. And so we're going to click Doc USD, go ahead and let that chart load up. And then at that point, I'm just going to zoom out and just look, you know, get the whole price action on my screen at once. So we're on the daily. We'll see if it'll all fit on my screen. Looks like it will. So according to at least CoinMarketCap, this coin, you know, potentially launched sometime in, I guess, mid-May of 2018. Actually, maybe more like the beginning of May of 2018. So that would have actually been kind of right after the bull market top when things were starting to pull back. So clearly you can see it had a ginormous fall off, and then, you know, it survived the bear market, it looks like. It appears that it didn't put in a higher high, or, you know, a new all-time high this last bull market. It was about 20, let's see, what does that say? Looks like it actually was as high as like 23 cents, almost 24 cents, and this past bull market it peaked out at just over 17 cents. That being said, it's good to see that the coin has stuck around and has survived pretty well up to this point. Another thing that I take note of kind of on the chart is if I do Alt-H right around this level here, we can see that this area at about 32, 33 cents has been major support and resistance on multiple occasions in the past. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say that the underside of that zone is probably around 28 cents. So when we move over to Binance's chart, you know, this will be a little clearer and easier to see, but more or less you kind of have a zone of major, you know, in this case resistance as it's overhead, you know, between about 28 cents and 32 cents. Again, like I said, it's been interacted with, you know, a ton, even after this last bull market top, and when everything crashed, that's where it saw its first major bounce to the upside, bounced again, bounced to the bottom side of the zone, eventually flipped it as resistance here, kind of it's been grinding under that basically since May of 2022. So as we zoom in, one I guess bit of a strike against Doc is that it is just below major resistance, as we talked about the underside of the zone being around 27 cents, upper side being just under 32 cents. However, between where price action is now and the underside of that zone still leaves potential for about a 7.5% gain, you know, if it were to break to the upside. And then to the upper end of that zone, you've got as high as a 30% gain, which obviously would be very, very nice. Now, if you look at the kind of the middle of this red zone, you'll notice that price action has interacted with this area for very short periods of time. It's like it will break that 27 cents and then explode to the upside, right? Break it, explode. Back here, it kind of just wicked down in it and recovered. You know, broke it, exploded. Most recently, twice it actually broke it and kind of just, you know, zoomed through that area, so to speak. So while it may not be the greatest looking chart, you know, setup, it does have potential. And at the end of the day, you know, that's really all we're looking for. We're still ultimately at the end of the day in a bear market. If Bitcoin breaks to the upside, or whether it does or doesn't, there's only so much these coins can really do until we get more retail hype in the market. So at this point, one thing that you can say is that it's putting in basically on the daily a double bottom, or some people call this like an Adam and Eve. You essentially have kind of this quick jolt to the downside, you know, a bit of a V and then a bit of a U. And this creates what's called an Adam and Eve pattern. Now this one's not perfect, but essentially all it is a big double bottom pattern, where if you look at it on something like the weekly, for example, it may be a little more clear. Let's go over to the weekly and get rid of some of these lines. But you can see here that it's a little bit clear what I was just talking about. That price action more or less came down, bounced off this area at about 14 cents, maybe just a little bit of a wick below it to about 12 cents, and then bounced again at that same area. So you basically have this big W pattern. And right now, what we're looking for as far as trading this, short term at least, would be to play the rest of this move up to the neckline. And what do I mean by neckline? Well, neckline basically being the area where after it broke down, and created the first bottom, where did it pump to? Well, that would be this wick up here at the underside of 32 cents before it ultimately came down, created the second bottom out of the two. And it already has went up to that area once. But that being said, you can see that the coin is still keeping higher low structure. High, low, higher low. Now this was a lower high, but it's still putting in higher lows. Basically, if we zoom into something like the 4-hour chart, while it may not be the prettiest looking pattern, we can kind of see that it's creating a triangle. The nice thing about triangle patterns is they have an apex. And what I mean by apex is they have a point in which they run out of room. And at that point, the coin typically is going to do one thing or the other. And, most of the time that's going to be based on, of course, what Bitcoin allows it to do. But that being said, you can see it's been kind of consolidating with lower highs, but higher lows. So at some point, mid-March, maybe, towards the end, typically these patterns, when they're about 70% full, which would probably fall in line sometime here in about, 5 to 10 days, that's when they usually make their move, whether that be to the upside or to the downside. Now, the way you find a measured move for that, you kind of take the bottom to wherever the top of the inside of the mouth of the triangle, and let's just say this were to break to the upside, you could drag this up here, and you'd have a measured move somewhere up here around 37 cents. Now, 37 cents is not an area that I would be trading the coin to, but it's just an area to tell me, hey, if this breaks out, other traders may be looking at that and it may have potential to reach that price. So how would I trade it specifically? Well, let me take a quick timeout, go ahead and draw some targets and a stop loss, and then we'll go over them. All right, my friends, feel free to pause the video, take a screenshot, but I'm gonna go over this very quickly. So here's what we have. We have 3 different targets. We have a stop loss. This is a BE. It stands for breakout entry, which I'll explain in just a second what that is. I have an aggressive entry, which would be a pullback actually to this trend line that's been acting as support ever since December or early January of this year. And then I have a stop loss listed as AE, which is the stop loss should you enter on the aggressive entry. So we're gonna zoom in, talk about these areas. So basically what it is price action has been consolidating, not consolidating obviously, but pumping up ever since, like I said, early January at about 14 cents. It's been using this trend line as support. So your aggressive entry would be a short-term pullback somewhere back down around 24 cents or just above. I have that listed as my aggressive entry. And should you enter there, I've shown the stop loss, which is just over 7.5%, almost 8%, would be down there at around 22.3. Then I have the breakout entry, which I should have written on the chart here, but it's just this area along around just under 26 cents. We'll just call it 27 to be safe. You can see this is an area that has obviously been resistance on multiple occasions, even recently. That would be a good area to enter on a breakout entry, with these being the 3 targets, 10%, around 20 and 23%. The areas of about 29.5 cents. Just under 32 cents and just over 33 cents. I can see that after I stretched this out and moved my my words around so they're not looking quite right. This was supposed to be the aggressive entry. Obviously, the stop loss is supposed to be here, and we could probably type really quick in 20. We'll just call this breakout level. That way, if you pause the screen again, then it'll line up a little bit better. So basically, this is the breakout level here, right? Enter on a breakout. Those are your targets. If you entered there, you'd have a stop loss, or I would have a stop loss back down here at about 25.5 cents. That would represent potential loss of around around 5%. Now, as we move over to the daily Bitcoin chart, I want you to keep in mind that I never trade a coin without watching what Bitcoin's doing. In fact, I set more alerts on what Bitcoin's doing to govern when I'm going to enter other coins. So that'd be no different in this case. You might want to watch the video that I posted if you haven't already yesterday, as I kind of went over my Bitcoin plan. But basically, in the short term, we would need to see Bitcoin start closing. In fact, if we move to the 4-hour time frame, I think this would be a little bit better. What I want to see is Bitcoin start closing back above like 22,700. It's this yellow level that was the previous zone's support before it had this big breakdown or meltdown, and it's just been kind of consolidating sideways since. Now, if we can break back above that and flip it as support, there's a very good chance, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, that Bitcoin's likely headed back up to the 24K level, potentially at least the 23.5, and most likely higher, up to something like 24K. And that, of course, would likely have confluence and lead to DOC breaking out of this level that we're talking about. That'd be your good breakout entry. On the flip side of that, of course, if you're going to enter on the aggressive entry, you would likely see that should Bitcoin come back down and kind of test this lower trend line again right here, somewhere down around just over 22K, more likely around 22,200, which isn't too far from where we're at now. But, you know, if Bitcoin dips back down there again, you might get a good chance to get one last aggressive entry. And then, of course, if Bitcoin loses this support and starts trending back this way, you know, that's why you would have your stop losses in place, because there'd be no point, at least in my opinion, to trade DOC, even with all of its great news, if Bitcoin, you know, is starting to pull back, you know, to these lower levels of support. And as always, guys, I will leave a link in the description to my Telegram group. Anytime I'm entering a trade, I always post in there kind of, you know, when I'm entering, what the, you know, you'll be able to see what level I entered at. I will, you know, reiterate what targets I have, where my stop loss is. So that way, in real time, you can kind of track the trade that I'm entering, you know, should I decide to enter it. So if that sounds like something you might want to follow along with, you know, again, that link is in the description of every single video that I post. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking around to the end of the video. As always, if you're enjoying my content, on the way out, please remember to like and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one. It's TIMECODES.